Hi, John here, the Hat Guy. I want to talk today about three things. We're going to talk about mysterious sale items, traffic etiquette, and headlights. So I was in a store today and wanted to buy an item. There were two items that were similarly priced, so I wasn't sure exactly. They had the identical name, and the tag was kind of mysterious as to which one was which. One was $9.48, the other one was $19.48, and I honestly couldn't tell which one was which. The one I wanted turned out to be the lesser one. I was hoping that was the case. So when I got up to the cash register, I handed it to the clerk, and I said, I'm not sure what the price is on this. Can you check it before I buy it? And I told her what the two prices were that was on the sign. $9.48 or $19.48. If it's the $9.48, I'll take it. If it's the $19.48, it's not a very good price. I don't want it. So she scanned it and she said it's $12.48. I said that wasn't one of the options. There was no sign back there anywhere that said $12.48. So there was a second cashier. I don't know if she was a trainee or what, but she ran back and checked it out, took pictures of the signs, and came back up to the front and she said it's $12.48, and showed me the picture that said $9.48. I said, this says $9.48. She said, yes, but it's a sale item. You have to buy that online to get that price. I said, I'm not online. I'm standing in your store. I don't want to have to stand in your store and look at an item and then buy it online. That's foolish. It defies logic. Spock would be appalled. I still don't understand it. She's like, well, you have to have the app. My response to that was, I miss the days when an item had a price and I would exchange my money for that item and then own the item. It was simple. It worked really well. There was no guessing what the price was. There was no sign saying, well, if you buy it in some other way, it's cheaper. And if you're going to just buy what we have here, it's going to be $3 more. But we're not going to tell you that until we ring you up. That still doesn't make sense to me. Now, if the sign had said something along the lines of, hey, there's a coupon that you can get on our app, that would have made sense. But that's not what the sign said. People just don't think. Whoever created the sign thought they were brilliant. Clearly they were not. At any rate, ultimately I got it for $9.48, and life went on. I was mildly perturbed. I ended up spending 10 minutes more in that store than I thought I should have to. And the odd thing is, I would have paid the $12.48 if that's what the sign said. I was willing to pay $12.48 for that item, if that was the cost of that item. But that's not what the advertised price was. The advertised price was $9.48. If you're going to tell me something is for sale for $9.48, don't then say, well, it's only for sale for $9.48 if you jump through these three hoops. Otherwise, it's $12.48. That's not the way the world works. At least not the way it should work. It's not the way it used to work. At any rate. Water is awesome. So on my way home from this little adventure, there was a traffic jam. Very big and lengthy traffic jam. Clearly there was I turned the radio on and there was an accident a couple of miles in front of me, and it was telling me to take an alternate route, describe the route that I would have normally taken had I not been at that particular store. But there was no way I could get to there. I was already mired in this traffic nonsense. Wasn't nonsense. It was a wreck, probably a bad one. It was cleared by the time I got to it, which was a long time. But in the midst of that traffic jam, this is a road that there are 3 lanes going each direction with a raised median strip that has palm trees in it. And there are traffic lights along this and stores along both sides, typical of many highways in America in a bigger city. So I'm in the right-hand lane because I just pulled out into the traffic on that lane from the store. And I could hear the sirens of a police car. And sure enough, behind me, I could see it in the rearview mirror, there were lights making its way through this traffic. This, by the way, was during afternoon rush hour. So it was intensely heavy traffic. But nobody was getting out of the way. I know in some other countries it's not even legal to remain in the way. You've got to part, like Moses parting the Red Sea, and leave a path for that emergency vehicle to go down. It's a brilliant idea. We should adopt it here. The law actually says you need to get out of the way. It doesn't say how to get out of the way. But the first time, I think ever, I heard a policeman in his police car, frustrated to the point of getting on his loudspeaker, which he had, and bellowing, "Get out of the way." That's a direct quote, I might add. I laughed. I thought it was hilarious that he had to go to that point, but it was also very sad that he had to go to that point. If you're stuck in traffic, you can clearly see the road was flat and straight. You can see easily a mile in front of you that is nothing but bumper-to-bumper cars. And you can see behind you an emergency vehicle trying to get through. You might not be able to move more than a couple of feet one way or the other, but move that couple of feet. The guy in the lane next to you will move a couple of feet the other way, and the emergency vehicle can squeeze through. And ultimately, that's what happened. But I've mentioned before on here that people are so self-centered that their discomfort is the only thing that matters. Doesn't matter that somebody is probably injured up ahead and this emergency vehicle needs to get to that person. No, I'm just going to sit here. And the other thing was people blowing their horns. Who are you blowing your horn at? Now, if I'm at a red light and I'm the second car back or even the third car back, and the guy that's sitting in the number 1 spot when the light turns green is continuing to look at his phone, oblivious to the fact that he should be focusing on driving, I'm going to blow my horn, probably extensively and loudly, to wake him up and let him know, hey, the light turned green some time ago, move on, or get out of the way. But that wasn't the case this time. It was clear that we were in a traffic jam, and blowing your horn was going to do nothing but anger people. But yet, people were doing it. People are crazy. So when I finally make it to my neighborhood, which, by the way, has 12 speed bumps, not before you get to my house, we get a really good price on our house, probably because there are 12 speed bumps between it and the main road. I'm annoyed by them constantly, but at the same time, I'm not paying an exorbitant amount of money for my house. It's a trade-off that I'm willing to live with. But what really annoys me is by this time it's dark outside. And that's largely due to the fact that somebody decided arbitrarily that we needed to change our time, our clocks. It's a number. Get over it. Leave it alone. I don't even care which number you go with. Standard time or daylight savings time. Pick one and go with it. I don't really care. Just quit changing it. At any rate, it was dark outside. I'll get back to that topic in a minute. It was dark outside, and my neighborhood, there are a lot of people that drive pickup trucks. I drive one myself. But a lot of these people are also people that run a business of some sort and pull a trailer. And they generally have enough weight on this thing that it squats down a little bit in the back, which, if this is your truck and your trailer and it squats down at the pivot point there, that's going to raise the front end up, which makes those headlights, even if they're low beams, shine directly up into the oncoming traffic's eyes. I'm very sensitive to light, and I don't see well at night. I never have. That's not an age thing, by the way. It was like that when I was a kid. But it's dark out. There's not a center line in the road. It's a neighborhood there's decent enough room to pass each other if you have a brain in your head. But these people tend to ride right down the middle of the street, headlights shining right in your eyes, and it's dark out and you can't see. Get over. Stay on your side of the road. If you can't drive your giant vehicle on your side of the road, get a smaller vehicle or park it and find somebody else to drive you around. Don't go down the middle of the road. It's one thing if you're on a country road that I grew up in the mountains in western Maryland, and some of those back roads were fairly narrow, and they were generally about the width of a car and a half. So you rode down the middle of the road, and when a car came the other direction, you both got out of the way until you got around each other. But there wasn't much traffic. This neighborhood, there are more than 1,000 homes in this neighborhood, and there's always two-way traffic on the main street. And people ride right down the middle of the road, and they're oblivious to the fact that someone else might want to get around them. I didn't mean for this to be a gripe session, but there's a common theme to all of this, and that's stupid people. There seems to be a bunch of them out there. Maybe they're all right here, and I encountered all of them today. And if that's the case, I'm glad that I'm helping keep them away from you, because they were surrounding me today. But at any rate, it was, people just don't think anymore. Think about what you're doing. If you're driving down the middle of the road, somebody else is not going to be able to get around you. Move over to the side of the road. If you're in charge of putting signs up in stores, make sure that it makes sense to somebody other than you. Show it to somebody. Ask them, hey, does this make sense? Ask 3 or 4 people. If you get a couple of people that say, no, it doesn't make sense, rethink your sign. And if there's a cop behind you or an ambulance behind you and you're not moving, get out of the way. It's as simple as that. These are all common sense things. At least they used to be. And I mentioned the time change earlier. I live in Florida. Last year, here in Florida, it was on our ballot when we voted. We voted as a state, almost overwhelmingly. It was nearly unanimous to remain on daylight savings time. And that passed. It passed all the way up. The governor signed it. But the federal government will not allow us to implement that law that we signed, that we voted on. And if you research this, they tell me it all goes back to farmers. We had the time change, the whole daylight savings time, years ago so that farmers could get their crops in. Well, I'm not a farmer. I'll be the first one to tell you that. But one thing I do know is that a farmer has one thing on his mind when it's time to harvest his crops, and that's harvesting his crops. And he bases his daily tasks on when the sun goes up and when the sun goes down. By the time the sun goes up, he's usually hard at work and has been for some time. And he generally doesn't quit until after it's been gone a while. And the one thing he doesn't care about is what time the watch says. Well, is it 8 o'clock or is it 7 o'clock? I don't know. And I don't care because I have to continue getting these crops in, regardless of what the time is. That's the mindset. What I don't understand is why the government stepped in and said, well, he needs to know what time it is, and we need to make it 7 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock, or whatever time it is. That's foolishness. I don't understand why we do it. I never have understood why we do it. The state of Arizona does not do it. I applaud the state of Arizona. Why the rest of us can't do that, I don't know. Some countries don't do it. It doesn't make any sense. to do it. We need to stop it. If you're in the government and you're in a high enough position to make this happen, make it happen. If not, and you're close, find somebody that can make it happen and make it happen. It's foolishness and it needs to end. We've got too many foolish rules on the books. They need to go away. Anyway, I'm the hat guy, and that's my opinion. Have a wonderful day.